Hey guys, welcome back to Addicted to Fishing. This is John. Today we're going to go over how to choose or what to choose, different types of baits depending on what's going on. First of all, you want to match the hatch. You know, if you got bait fish that are keying in on bigger baits, you know, I might throw that size underspin. If they're keying on smaller bait, definitely drop down the size. Why fish an underspin versus a spinnerbait? You know, you might be throwing a spinnerbait and catch bass after bass after bass. Then all of a sudden that bite kind of dies off. I'd pick up an underspin and throw the underspin behind it. It's giving you a different look, different vibration. Everything's totally different about it. If every guy's throwing a spinnerbait, you might wreck them 10 times better if you're throwing an underspin behind them. Kind of a prime example of how that works the best is if you're out on the lake and we're throwing square bills. You know, we're gonna use this little lunker hunt square bill. It's got a rattle. Hope you guys can hear that rattle. So if you're going down the lake and it's highly pressured, everybody out there throwing a little 2.5 square bill, doesn't matter the brand, and it's got a rattle in it. All of a sudden the bass get used to hearing that rattle. Maybe they get keyed in on, hey, that's not the real thing. You come behind it. This just happens to be a Lucky Craft. Another square bill, slightly bigger, slightly different profile. But what I want you to keep in mind is dead silent. You come in with a dead silent bait. You know, that bait, they're still keying in on it because it's the vibration. You're not going to sneak in on that bass with any kind of lure. For the most part, you're not going to sneak up on that bass. He's going to know it's coming because his lateral line is going to pick up that vibration that's coming off that square bill. But what the difference will be is that they hear that loud knocking and that constant rattle. Sometimes they get shy to that, and you come behind with a silent. A lot of times you're going to pick up bass where the other guys aren't picking them up. You really have to kind of play with it a little bit. You have to play with your cadence. You kind of really have to pay attention to what's going on around you. You know, if you're throwing a square bill with a rattle and you're the only guy on the lake and you're not getting them on a rattle that you were 2 days ago, pick up the silent. Throw the silent. The silence can be very deadly. You know, I'm not really brand specific, guys. I pretty much will fish any kind of lure. You know, some of the pluses when you go from a lunker hunt to a Lucky Craft is you are getting a lot better quality hook. Paint jobs are probably a little bit better, but both of them simply catch fish. You know, and you gotta pay attention and be in tune with what's going on around you, looking at the bait fish, watching how pressured the lake is, pond, whatever it is that you're fishing. If it's heavily pressured and every guy's been throwing a rattling crankbait, you're going to catch them on a silent crankbait. I'd almost take that to the bank that you're going to catch them on a silent bait every single time. You know, it's you have to, you know, you really have to pay attention if you want to catch fish, and if you want to catch bigger bass, bigger fish in general. You know, you got to look and pay attention. You know, what size are the bait fish? What are the bass eating on? You know, are they eating on little shad? Are they eating on big shad? Are they eating on little bluegill, little crappie, bigger crappie? You know, a bass is opportunistic. You know, don't be fooled. And I'll use this as an example. A bass this big will eat a crankbait this big. If that bass can get it in its mouth, or it thinks it's going to get it in its mouth, it is definitely 100% going to do that. You know, a lot of times I'll catch, you know, I pay attention to almost every fish that I catch. You know, I kind of look them over a little bit. One, I'm checking to see if they're healthy. Two, I'm looking to see if they've been caught before. And three, I'm looking for signs in and around its mouth to what it may be feeding on. If you know, if I catch one and I've caught them last year. I was catching them on a little crankbait, and the couple that I caught, I noticed that they had crayfish all in their throat and in their mouth. You know, one bass, he was He was no more than 4 or 5 inches long, and he had 2 or 3 crayfish shoved in his mouth, and I still caught him on a little crankbait. But what that'll key me in on is, you know, I'm gonna fish something this size if he's got a lot of small crayfish, and I'm probably gonna find a crayfish colored bait to throw. You know, a great imitator of that is definitely going to be picking up, you know, a small jig. A jig's going to be great for that. Picking up a creature bait, you know, and almost any type of creature bait is going to kind of imitate a crayfish in some kind of a way. Trust me, guys, bass aren't trying to figure out, is that a crazy leg chigger crawl or is that a bandito bug? Now they're looking and they're going, hey, is that looking like a crayfish? Is that looking like a meal? And if they think it's a meal, they're going to snatch it up. But if you're catching bass and you're finding crayfish in and around our mouth, or you're seeing a lot of crayfish around, you know, maybe some with broken pinchers pulled off, you're probably best to throw, you know, some kind of creature bait or some kind of crawfish imitator. You know, if they're feeding on shad, you definitely want to find some kind of shad colored bait or shad profile bait. They're feeding on bluegill, perch, you know, crappie, things of that nature. Find that type of lure. You know, something like this. That's a crawfish in that bright green fluorescent color. You know, that profile is going to work for a shad or a bluegill. There are some better bluegill imitators out there. You can get into bluegill type swim baits. But yeah, definitely look at, you know, what the fish are feeding on. Know what the lake has in it. You know, if you're not sure, like I said, that's where I start looking around his mouth and seeing what he's feeding on. Almost every place that you're going to go fish is going to have crayfish in it. You're not going to find too many bodies of water that don't have crayfish. So crayfish is always a good time of the year. You know, early in the spring, that crayfish is going to be more of a red, a burnt brown color. But later in the year, he's going to darken up. He's going to get deep brown. Some of them get kind of black. Depending on the quality of the water and clarity of that water, it's going to depend upon that color of that crayfish as well. Same thing with the shad, the bluegill, all of that. That water quality and that water clarity is going to determine, you know, what that bait fish is going to look like. And that's what you're looking for. Is you're looking for bait fish and indoor bait that the bass are going to be feeding on. If you're fishing for panfish, same deal. They're looking for bait. Find the bait, match the hatch. You know, match it to the best you can. I'm not going to throw a bluegill imitator type swim bait when I know they're all feeding on shad. You know, vice versa. I'm not gonna throw, you know, something like this Lunker Hunt shad profile type bait if they're feeding on crawfish. You know, they're simply going to ignore that. You know, it's all about knowing that body of water and what that bass is feeding on. Key in on some of that stuff. Pay attention to it. Anyway, it's a real quick video on some little tips for what the bass are feeding on, how to select different baits, different qualities, or different sounds. Like I said, if you think you're sneaking up on a bass, you're not. They key in on a couple things. Primarily, that's the sound and that vibration that bait's picking up on. That lateral line picks it up. They definitely get the sense of smell. I think more bass are feeding off that lateral line. They can feel it, and it's their nature to be predatory, and they're going to eat. They're opportunistic. Anyway, guys, that's a real quick video for you. I know some of these have been short that I've been putting out, but I'm trying to put out some smaller or some shorter films for you guys, or shorter clips for you guys. And we'll definitely cover some more stuff in more detail. Anyway, hit that notification bell to know when I'm putting out another video. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, I've got a giveaway coming out at the end of July. And then we're going to keep doing some giveaways as the channel grows. I'd like to see my channel grow a little bit. I'm not looking to have 140 million subscribers. I'm just looking to find those people out there that want to learn a little something, fish on a budget, and get some good information, versus a lot of technical stuff and you know, trying to tell you that if you're not throwing a Lucky Craft crankbait, you're not going to catch fish. That's simply just not true. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.